Welcome to Midnight Murmurs, where we bring you the most enchanting bedtime stories to help you drift off into a peaceful slumber. In our latest video, we've got a slow-burning fairy tale with a twist that'll have you on the edge of your seat until the very end. So grab a cozy blanket, get comfortable, and let Midnight Murmurs take you on a journey to a magical world. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more sleep-inducing stories. Chapter 1: The Hidden Tower. Isadora had always been a dreamer, lost in her own thoughts and yearning for something more. She lived in a small village on the outskirts of the Kingdom of Eldred, a land of rolling hills, lush forests, and winding rivers. Every day, she would wander in the forest, lost in her thoughts, until one day she stumbled upon something that changed her life forever. It was a hidden tower, tall and imposing, with no visible entrance. Isadora was intrigued by the tower and felt drawn to explore it, sensing that there was something mysterious and powerful inside. She approached the tower, but found that it was surrounded by a dense thicket of thorns. She tried to navigate through the thorns, but they were sharp and impenetrable. As she searched for a way through, she heard a rustling in the bushes. Suddenly, a small bird emerged from the undergrowth, startling her. "Who are you?" asked Isadora. "I am a talking bird," said the bird. "My name is Arlo. What brings you to this tower?" "I don't know," said Isadora. "I just felt drawn to it. But I can't find a way through these thorns." "I can help you with that," said Arlo. "But first, you must answer me this riddle. What is as light as a feather, yet even the strongest men cannot hold it for long?" Isadora thought for a moment, then replied, "Breath." "Correct," said Arlo. "Follow me." Arlo led Isadora to a hidden entrance at the base of the tower. Isadora entered the tower and began to climb a winding staircase, encountering various magical traps and illusions along the way. She heard whispers and giggles in the darkness and felt the brush of unseen fingers against her skin. Finally, she reached the top of the tower, where she found herself face to face with the sorceress who owned the tower. The sorceress was tall and imposing, with long black hair and a piercing gaze. She wore a flowing black dress and held a golden scepter in her hand. "Who are you?" asked the sorceress. "I am Isadora," said Isadora. "I am just exploring this tower." The sorceress smiled coldly. "You should not be here," she said. "This tower is mine, and it holds many secrets. You are lucky that I am in a generous mood today. I will let you leave, but only if you answer me this riddle. What is always in front of you but can't be seen?" Isadora thought for a moment, then replied, "The future." "Correct," said the sorceress. "You are smarter than you look. But don't think that this is the end of our encounter. I have a feeling that we will meet again." With that, the sorceress vanished in a puff of smoke, leaving Isadora alone in the tower. Isadora emerged from the tower, triumphant and transformed by her adventure. She had discovered a new side of herself, one that was brave and resourceful. She set out on a journey to discover more about the sorceress and the other secrets of Eldred, eager to uncover the mysteries that lay hidden in the kingdom. As she walked through the forest, she heard the sound of a familiar voice. It was Arlo, the talking bird. "Well done, Isadora," said Arlo. "You have proven yourself to be a worthy adventurer." Isadora turned to face Arlo, a smile on her face. "Thank you, Arlo. I couldn't have done it without your help." "Of course," said Arlo. "I'm glad I could assist you on your journey. But I have a feeling that your adventure has only just begun. There are many more secrets to uncover in Eldred, and many more dangers to face." Isadora nodded, her eyes shining with excitement. "I'm ready for whatever comes my way. I won't stop until I've uncovered every secret and solved every riddle in this kingdom." Arlo gave a small chirp of approval. "That's the spirit, Isadora. But remember, not everything is as it seems in Eldred. You must be careful and keep your wits about you at all times." Isadora nodded solemnly, taking in Arlo's words. She knew that her journey would not be easy, but she was determined to see it through to the end. As she continued on her way through the forest, Isadora thought about the sorceress she had encountered in the tower. There was something about her that had stirred a strange feeling in Isadora's heart, a feeling that she couldn't quite name. She wondered what other secrets lay hidden in the tower, and whether the sorceress had any connection to the other mysteries of Eldred. She felt a pull towards the unknown, a yearning to uncover the truth, no matter what the cost. As the sun began to set and the sky turned orange and pink, Isadora saw the twinkling lights of a nearby village in the distance. She quickened her pace, eager to find a place to rest and plan her next move. But even as she walked towards the village, she knew that her adventure was far from over. There were still many more riddles to solve, and many more secrets to uncover in the magical kingdom of Eldred. Chapter 2: The Forest of Shadows. Mara stepped into the Forest of Shadows, her heart pounding with anticipation and fear. The dense trees loomed over her, their branches stretching toward the sky like gnarled fingers. The forest floor was thick with a carpet of moss, and strange shadows danced at the corners of her vision. As she took her first steps into the forest, she felt a sense of unease settle over her. The trees seemed to be closing in, and the shadows grew darker and more sinister. She could hear the faint sound of a haunting melody echoing through the trees. Mara hesitated, unsure of what lay ahead, but the lure of the music was too strong to resist. She followed it deeper into the woods. As she walked, Mara's senses were overwhelmed by the strange sights and sounds of the forest. The trees seemed to twist and bend, taking on eerie shapes and forms. Strange creatures darted through the undergrowth, their eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. Mara felt as though she had stepped into a different realm, one where the rules of reality no longer applied. She soon encountered her first obstacle, a tangle of thorns that seemed to be moving of its own accord. The thorns twisted and writhed, trying to ensnare her as she tried to pass through them. Mara could feel her heart racing as she tried to find a way through, but every path seemed to lead to a dead end. She was about to give up hope when she heard a small bird singing nearby. "Hello?" Mara called out, hoping for a response. The bird's singing grew louder, and soon it hopped into view. It was a small, brown bird with bright eyes and a cheerful chirp. "Can you help me?" Mara asked. "I'm trying to get through this thorn maze, but I'm completely lost." The bird nodded its head and then hopped over to a nearby bush. It began to sing a high-pitched melody, and Mara watched in amazement as the thorns began to move apart, creating a path for her to follow. "Thank you," Mara said gratefully as she continued on her way. As she walked, she realized that the forest was full of surprises and that she couldn't trust anything she saw or heard. As she traveled deeper into the forest, she encountered a group of shadowy creatures. They were humanoid in shape, but their features were blurred and indistinct. Mara tried to run, but they pursued her relentlessly, their eyes gleaming with malevolence. Mara's heart was racing as she stumbled through the forest, trying to find a way to escape. She saw a narrow bridge up ahead, but it was rickety and looked like it could collapse at any moment. She had no choice but to cross it. As she took her first step onto the bridge, she felt it sway beneath her feet. She could hear the creaking of the old wood and the sound of the river below. She tried to keep her balance, but the bridge was so narrow that she had to walk sideways, her arms outstretched for balance. She could feel the wind blowing through the forest and the sound of the creatures chasing her growing louder. Mara finally reached the other side of the bridge, exhausted and trembling with fear. She saw a figure standing in the shadows, watching her. She tried to run, but the figure stepped out into the light, revealing a tall, thin man with pale skin and black eyes. "Who are you?" the man asked, his voice cold and distant. "I'm Mara," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm looking for a way out of this forest." The man regarded her for a moment, then spoke again. "There is no way out of this forest," he said. "Not for those who enter of their own volition." Mara felt a cold shiver run down her spine. "What do you mean?" she asked. The man stepped closer to her, and Mara could see that his eyes were glowing with an unnatural light. "This forest is alive," he said. "It feeds on those who dare to enter it. And you, Mara, have entered of your own accord." Mara backed away from the man, her heart racing with fear. "Please, let me go," she pleaded. "I don't want to be here anymore." The man regarded her for a moment, then stepped aside. "Very well," he said. "But be warned. This forest is full of dangers. You would do well to watch your step." Mara didn't need to be told twice. She turned and ran as fast as she could, not stopping until she was far away from the man and the shadowy creatures that still pursued her. As she continued on her way, Mara realized that the forest was becoming darker and more sinister by the minute. She could hear strange whispers on the wind, and the trees seemed to be closing in around her. She soon stumbled upon a clearing where she saw a small cottage nestled among the trees. It was old and run down, but it looked like the only safe haven in the entire forest. Mara approached the cottage cautiously, not knowing what to expect. As she drew closer, she could hear the sound of voices coming from inside. She hesitated for a moment, then knocked on the door. The door creaked open, revealing an old woman with wrinkled skin and kind eyes. "Hello, dearie," the woman said. "What brings you to my cottage?" Mara explained her situation to the woman, who nodded sympathetically. "You're not the first to come looking for a way out of this forest," she said. "But I'm afraid there is no easy escape." Mara felt her heart sink at the woman's words. "What can I do?" she asked. The woman thought for a moment, then spoke. "There is one who might be able to help you," she said. "The Wise One, they call him. He lives deep within the forest, beyond the thorn maze and the narrow bridge. But be warned. He is a tricky one, and he may not be willing to help you." Mara thanked the woman and set out once more, her heart filled with renewed hope. As she traveled deeper into the forest, she felt a sense of purpose settling over her. She knew that finding the Wise One was her only chance of escaping this cursed place. And so, Mara continued on her journey, facing danger and uncertainty at every turn. But she was determined to find a way out of the forest of shadows, no matter the cost. Chapter 3: The Tower of the Moon. Mara limped towards the massive structure, barely able to put one foot in front of the other. The wound in her side throbbed with each step, and her stomach growled with hunger. But she refused to give up. She was so close to discovering the truth she had been seeking for so long. As she approached the Tower of the Moon, she felt a sense of awe and reverence. The tower rose high above the surrounding landscape, casting a long shadow across the ground. It was built of a strange, shimmering stone that seemed to glow in the moonlight. Mara could see no door or entrance, only a spiral staircase that wound up the side of the tower. She had heard stories of the tower all her life, but she had never seen it with her own eyes. The tower was said to be the home of a powerful sorceress who possessed great knowledge and secrets that no mortal had ever known. Mara hoped that the sorceress could answer the questions that had plagued her for so long. As Mara approached the base of the tower, she was ambushed by a group of bandits. They emerged from behind rocks and trees, brandishing weapons and demanding that she surrender her supplies and valuables. Mara knew that she was outnumbered and outmatched, but she refused to back down. "I have nothing of value to you," she said, her voice steady despite her fear. "Let me pass, and you won't be harmed." The bandits laughed at her, but they did not back down. Mara drew her sword, determined to fight for her life. The battle was short but brutal. Mara fought with all her skill and determination, but she was outnumbered and wounded. One of the bandits managed to land a blow on her side, and she stumbled backwards, gasping in pain. As the bandits closed in for the kill, Mara saw a glimmer of movement out of the corner of her eye. A group of refugees had emerged from a nearby cave, armed with makeshift weapons and ready to fight. They charged towards the bandits, shouting battle cries and swinging their weapons. The bandits were taken by surprise, and they faltered for a moment. Mara seized the opportunity to strike back, slicing through one of the bandits' weapons and disarming him. The refugees fought fiercely, and the bandits were quickly overpowered. Mara collapsed to the ground, exhausted and wounded. The refugees gathered around her, offering water and food and tending to her wounds. Mara was grateful for their help, and she soon found herself telling them her story. "I have been searching for the truth for so long," she said, her voice trembling. "I have traveled through forests and over mountains, risking my life at every turn. And now I am so close to my goal, but I fear that I will never reach it." The refugees listened intently, their eyes wide with wonder. They had heard stories of the Tower of the Moon, but they had never met anyone who had actually seen it. An old man with a long beard spoke up. "I know of the tower," he said. "I have lived in these parts for many years, and I have seen the tower with my own eyes. But beware, the tower is guarded by a powerful sorceress who will stop at nothing to keep her secrets." Mara nodded, taking in the old man's words. She knew that she must reach the tower, no matter the cost. The refugees agreed to travel with her, and they set out towards the tower, moving slowly and cautiously through the dense forest. The old man led the way, his staff tapping against the ground as he walked. Mara followed closely behind, her sword at the ready. As they approached the tower, Mara felt a sense of dread wash over her. She knew that this would be the most dangerous part of her journey. She had heard tales of the sorceress's power and cruelty, and she knew that she would need all her strength and skill to survive. The spiral staircase loomed before them, stretching up into the sky. Mara began to climb, her heart pounding in her chest. The stairs seemed to go on forever, each step taking her closer to her goal and further from safety. Finally, after what felt like hours of climbing, Mara reached the top of the tower. The sorceress was waiting for her, standing in the center of a large chamber. Her hair was long and silver, and her eyes glowed with a strange, otherworldly light. "I have been expecting you," the sorceress said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "You seek knowledge that is not meant for mortals." Mara stood tall, her sword at the ready. "I seek the truth," she said, "and I will stop at nothing to find it." The sorceress laughed, a cruel and mocking sound. "Very well," she said. "Let us begin." For hours, Mara and the sorceress battled, their swords clinging together in a deadly dance. Mara fought with all her skill and determination, but the sorceress was powerful and skilled beyond measure. Mara's wounds began to reopen, and she felt herself growing weaker with each passing moment. But she refused to give up. She had come too far to fail now. With a final burst of strength, Mara managed to strike the sorceress's sword out of her hand. The sorceress looked at her with something like respect. "You are stronger than I thought," she said. "Perhaps you are worthy of the knowledge you seek." She led Mara to a small alcove in the chamber, where a dusty book lay open on a pedestal. Mara's heart leapt as she saw the words written on the page. They were the answers she had been seeking for so long. As she read, Mara felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had found the truth she had been seeking, and she knew that it would change her life forever. As she descended the staircase, her mind whirring with newfound knowledge, Mara knew that her journey was not over. But she was ready for whatever lay ahead, confident in the strength and wisdom she had gained. The refugees were waiting for her at the base of the tower, their faces full of wonder and amazement. Mara smiled at them, feeling a sense of gratitude for their help and support. "I have found the truth," she said, her voice strong and steady. "And now it is time for me to use that truth to make the world a better place." And with those words, Mara set out on a new journey, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 4: The Tower of Secrets. Mara arrived at the base of the Tower of Secrets, a towering structure that loomed over her like a giant sentinel. She paused for a moment to take in its enormity and beauty. The tower was made of the finest white stone, which sparkled in the sunlight. It was adorned with intricate carvings and statues that depicted mythical creatures and ancient gods. As she approached the entrance, Mara noticed a fierce dragon guarding the way. She knew that she would have to find a way to get past it if she was to reach the secrets she sought. She took a deep breath and stepped forward, keeping her eyes fixed on the dragon. The creature let out a deep growl as it caught sight of Mara, its eyes narrowing in suspicion. Mara knew that she had to act fast if she was to avoid being burned to a crisp by the dragon's fiery breath. She ducked behind a nearby boulder, hoping to avoid detection. As she waited for the dragon to move on, Mara took the opportunity to examine her surroundings. She noticed that the tower was surrounded by a maze of tunnels and corridors, which seemed to stretch on for miles in every direction. She realized that she would have to find a way through the maze if she was to reach the tower's inner sanctum. Mara decided to take a chance and make a run for it. She dashed out from behind the boulder and sprinted toward the nearest tunnel entrance. The dragon was caught off guard by her sudden movement and took a moment to react. Mara seized the opportunity and darted into the tunnel, hoping to lose the dragon in the maze. As she ran through the maze of tunnels, Mara realized that she was not alone. She heard strange noises and whispers coming from the darkness. She slowed her pace and listened carefully, hoping to make out what was being said. After a few moments, she heard a voice whisper, "Who goes there?" Mara spun around, but saw no one. She felt a chill run down her spine. Was she being watched? "I'm looking for the secrets of the tower," she replied, her voice shaking slightly. "You will find them if you have the wit and courage to do so," the voice replied. "But beware, there are many dangers that lie ahead." Mara continued on her way, following the twists and turns of the maze. She encountered strange creatures that she had never seen before, each guarding a puzzle or riddle that she had to solve before she could progress. Mara used her powers of observation and deduction to decipher the clues and overcome the obstacles. As she made her way deeper into the tower, Mara began to notice subtle changes in the atmosphere. The air grew thicker and the walls seemed to close in on her. She felt a sense of foreboding, as if she was entering a forbidden realm. Eventually, Mara reached a hidden door that led deep into the heart of the tower. She pushed open the door and stepped inside, her heart pounding with anticipation. Inside the tower, she encountered a series of strange creatures, each more mysterious and magical than the last. There were pixies, elves, and gnomes, each with their own unique gifts and talents. Mara was fascinated by their stories and listened intently as they shared their secrets. As she progressed deeper into the tower, Mara realized that the creatures were not merely guarding the secrets of the tower, but were in fact the keepers of the tower itself. They were the guardians of the knowledge that had been passed down through generations, the knowledge that had been kept hidden from the world for centuries. Mara was filled with awe and reverence for the creatures and the knowledge they protected. She knew that she was on the brink of discovering something truly profound and life-changing. As she approached the final chamber, Mara encountered the most powerful and mysterious creature of all. It was an ancient dragon, far larger and more imposing than the one that had guarded the entrance to the tower. Mara knew that she would have to tread carefully if she was to avoid angering the creature. "Who are you, and why do you seek the secrets of the tower?" the dragon asked, its voice echoing throughout the chamber. "I am Mara, and I seek the knowledge that has been kept hidden from the world," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "You are brave to seek such knowledge," the dragon said. "But you must also be wise. The secrets of the tower are not for the faint of heart or the weak of mind. Are you ready to face the truth?" Mara took a deep breath and nodded. She knew that there was no turning back now. The dragon nodded in approval and gestured toward a small pedestal in the center of the chamber. Mara approached the pedestal and saw that it contained a single object, a small, intricately carved wooden box. "This box contains the most powerful secret of all," the dragon said. "It is the key to unlocking the greatest power in the universe. But it can only be opened by someone who has proven themselves worthy." Mara took the box in her hands and examined it closely. It was covered in intricate symbols and runes, each one representing a different aspect of the universe. She felt a sense of awe and wonder at the power that the box represented. But as she tried to open the box, Mara realized that it was locked. She looked up at the dragon, hoping for some guidance. "The key to the box lies within yourself," the dragon said. "You must look deep within your own soul and find the courage to face your greatest fears. Only then will the box be unlocked." Mara took a deep breath and closed her eyes. She concentrated on the box, willing it to open. She felt a surge of energy flow through her body, and suddenly the box clicked open. Inside, Mara found a small scroll that contained a single word: truth. Mara knew that this was the answer she had been seeking, the key to unlocking the greatest power in the universe. As she emerged from the tower, Mara felt a sense of clarity and purpose. She knew that she had discovered something truly profound, something that would change the course of her life forever. And as she looked back at the Tower of Secrets, Mara realized that the journey had been worth it. For in the end, she had found the greatest treasure of all, the truth. Chapter 5: The Final Showdown. Mara had come a long way. She had battled through the forest of shadows, crossed the treacherous river of night, and climbed the perilous mountain of despair. But now, she stood before the sorcerer's castle, her ultimate goal within reach. The castle was imposing, with its high walls and dark, foreboding towers. As she approached the gate, Mara could feel the weight of the sorcerer's power bearing down on her. But she pushed forward, determined to put an end to his reign of terror. She was joined by the small bird she had befriended in the forest, who perched on her shoulder, chirping encouragement. Mara smiled, grateful for the company. She had always been a solitary person, but the bird had become a loyal companion. As she entered the castle, Mara was immediately struck by the sense of danger that hung in the air. The walls were lined with flickering torches, casting eerie shadows that seemed to move of their own accord. The air was thick with the smell of smoke and sulfur, and Mara could hear the distant sounds of chanting and incantations. She cautiously made her way down the dimly lit corridors, her footsteps echoing loudly against the stone walls. Along the way, she encountered a series of deadly traps and obstacles, including a pit of spikes, a hallway filled with poisonous gas, and a room filled with ravenous wolves. But with the help of her trusty sword and her quick wits, Mara was able to overcome each challenge in turn. She found herself growing more and more confident as she made her way deeper into the castle, her determination unwavering. As she entered the main hall, she was confronted by the sorcerer's minions, a group of undead warriors, their eyes glowing with an eerie light. Mara drew her sword and prepared to do battle, her heart pounding in her chest. The fight was intense, with Mara parrying blows left and right, her sword flashing in the dim light. But eventually, she emerged victorious, the last of the undead crumpling to the ground. Just then, a voice echoed through the hall, the sorcerer himself. "Welcome, Mara," he said, his voice cold and menacing. "I've been expecting you." Mara gritted her teeth and advanced, her sword at the ready. But the sorcerer was a formidable foe, his dark magic swirling around him like a cloak. He unleashed a barrage of spells and curses, forcing Mara to duck and weave to avoid them. The battle raged on, the two adversaries locked in a deadly dance. But as the sorcerer grew weaker, Mara grew stronger. She drew on all her reserves of courage and determination, refusing to let him defeat her. Finally, with a final burst of energy, Mara lunged forward and drove her sword deep into the sorcerer's chest. He let out a scream of pain and fury, collapsing to the ground in a heap. Mara stood over him, her breathing ragged, her body covered in sweat and blood. She had done it. She had defeated the sorcerer and put an end to his reign of terror. As she made her way back out of the castle, Mara was greeted by the sight of the sun rising over the horizon. It was a new day, a new beginning. Mara knew that her journey was far from over, but she was ready for whatever lay ahead. Thank you for joining us for this magical bedtime story on Midnight Murmurs. We hope you enjoyed this slow-burning fairy tale with a twist and that it helped you drift off into a peaceful slumber. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more enchanting stories to help you unwind at the end of a long day. Also, be sure to check out our other videos for even more soothing and captivating bedtime stories. Sweet dreams, and we'll see you in the next video on Midnight Murmurs.